Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster, where we'll be working on the Legend of Korra speed build today. Bit of a announcement here. I did get my new PC, and that is looking great. However, it's going to be a little bit until I'm back up and fully functioning here on YouTube, as I have to test performance, reinstall a bunch of software, and make sure it's up to par to record and transfer all these saves over and things like that. Sadly, a mishap has happened in doing so, and I accidentally lost Alpine Odyssey, which is our big theme park that we've been working on for the past week or so. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be trying to back that up somehow and restore my computer to a previous state. We might lose some progress on that build, but I think that's better than starting over than not at all. So hopefully look forward to that. I'll be trying my best to produce an episode here over the weekend, and we can continue off hopefully close to where we left off last time and just continue from there. Other than that, we are just building here in Planet Coaster. I'm making a new building. This is a outbuilding that was kind of in my reference material, and it is something that I don't know what it is. It's quite a different architectural style. It is a standard kind of 45-degree angled roof line on here. Same, blue tile set. It's just not very Asian looking. It's a little bit more European in style, which is interesting. I don't quite know what this building would be for, whether it's maybe a small shrine-like area. However, it just doesn't make sense as to why the roof is straight instead of curved like most Asian style theme sets. But it's one of those things where I have to kind of just make it and see if we can get it to fit the rest of the theme. And, it's pretty quick to throw together a basic tile set at a 45-degree angle anyways, so it wasn't overly time-consuming. Minor stitching here and there, definitely not near as much as we've gone through in the past. We've also got a new wall section going up here. This is going to be the exit point into more of the wilderness outside. There is the curved roof as before, and we can luckily use a lot of the tile sets that we have already made. A little bit of stitching together there just to get the corners, but, it's one of those things I'm kind of cutting out at this point for time, because roofing is getting a little repetitive for these episodes. There's not much more I can talk about beyond just be careful with your tile set making, and definitely take your time with it so that you can spend less time on the back end trying to fix things. I definitely would suggest saying spend as much time on the front end so that you're able to use it as often as possible without having to do too much. We're going to expand the island outwards a little bit, and we will be working on the northern side and getting this pretty much finished off. There's some detailing to do left over at the end of the episode, but beyond that, this is kind of the finished layout of the whole upper plateau of this island. And with this end of this episode, we'll be moving on to the lower pathway down to the dock and the dock house itself. And at that point, we'll be able to just move into terrain sculpting out the rest of the island, adding a whole bunch of trees and rocks, and this project will be done. So hopefully we can get this finished within an episode or two, and we'll basically go from there into a new project after it's uploaded to the workshop. I hope you guys are excited to check this out in your own PC rig. YouTube doesn't really do this quite justice just because of the compression and things like that. And if you have a powerful enough PC and actually are able to run this on ultra settings, you're going to get a much better experience than I can recording, just because I record when the game is on a medium setting level so that I can get some more FPS out of it. We're currently sitting around 20 FPS, but this is my old PC still, so maybe as I get my new one up and running, it might bump it up a decent amount. At least that's the plan, and if it doesn't, I'll be a little disappointed with that, but at least with the new PC here, finally, we can get started on some City Skylines gameplay for you as well, and hopefully have another cool, highly detailed series going side by side with the Planet Coaster series that we have long established for a while. As we do end up wrapping up the overall build process in the Legend of Korra structure, I do want to kind of start moving on into more smaller builds again, just so I can take a break and not have too many really large projects going at once. It is a little strenuous to come home and do that kind of stuff every night, but maybe we will see what you guys want built next, and we can kind of go from there and decide. You know, I'm thinking some more coaster stations for a little while, just to give me a little bit of a breather, and, you know, theme sets to upload to the workshop, because those seem to be pretty effective here last winter. So having a little series of that again would be pretty cool to do. We're making a new tile set to go with this new building, and we're just going to wrap the skin real quick around here. We'll add some additional details around the roof, and even eventually do some more man-made details on the peaks, just to make them stand out a little bit more, make them look a little bit more unique overall, and go from there. Copy and paste the structure over to get the backside and other angular sections quickly and effectively. At this point, copy and paste is pretty much just my best friend, and I couldn't even imagine playing Planet Coaster without copy and paste at this point. Like, it's one of those functions that if we didn't have it, it would be very stressful to build such large items. There is a partial dome on the center of these roof lines. However, it's a little unclear in my reference material exactly the shape of this dome, and so I'm starting with something a little bit more teardrop shaped, and from there we'll kind of decide what fits exactly. Luckily, we can just make a quick and easy little 15-degree slice, and then just rotate this around to seal this off to make a nice solid piece. However, it looks really weird with that egg shape on top. So thinking about it, we might as well just kind of slice it and move it down after we kind of decorate the top a little bit more, so we can get some of these baubles in from the Christmas section. And we're just going to cut it off so that we can actually go ahead and sink just the upper quarter part into it. And I think that definitely balances the building out a lot better than that tall, narrow spire that we had a bit ago. Add the gold trim, very similar to the rest of the theme set going around, and just, you know, make it look a little bit more fancy than it already is. Why not? We're kind of winding down the buildings at this point, so, you know, the fancier the better. We're going to add a little bit of a swirl logo just there above the doorway, and kind of bulk it up a little bit just so it looks a little bit more fancy. For some reason, you know, just kind of arbitrary, the rule of cool applies. At this point, we are going to be working outside the kind of residential walls. I wanted to do, or try to do, a very large kind of stone work pathway. This didn't really work out as much as I wanted it to. Kind of a shame, but it's one of those things where, you know, trial and error is how you learn the best in Planet Coaster. And just getting these things to look right. The terrain wasn't super flat here, so it was a little annoying to try and curve this around. If you do it slow enough, and I'm sure if you maybe just did it one large stone tile at a time, it would probably look a little bit better, more natural. But it just was turning too slowly to get this bend right. I also wanted to maybe play with adding some greenery elements sticking up through these large stone blocks, but it just wasn't really working out for us. So I ended up scrapping that, just pushing the terrain down a little bit, making it a little bit more flat, and we'll just continue the plaza type of stonework all the way out here and get this to wrap around fairly nicely. And this will go to lead to a new gazebo kind of meditation area out here. You can see the old one copied and pasted, because we're going to end up using the roof of the old one to make the new one. I do mess this up a little bit because it's been a while. I didn't quite remember exactly how this original one was made, and so I kind of measured this incorrectly a couple times, and that kind of cost me a little bit. But you know, luckily with tile sets, you can copy and paste them relatively quick, align things, make sure it's what you want. And you can see I'm still struggling at this point. Figured, hey, might as well just tile it so I can actually fully see the 3D picture of it all and go from there. You know, at this point, you know, you can kind of see that the angles aren't quite lining up with the upper area, but that's okay. We can use this as a test to establish how we can build this going forward. And I do want this to have that gentle curve as the upper area, and it's going to be basically a larger flower shape than we have made before. And to do this, what you do is you simply establish the spines of the roof line. At that point, you can rotate it about 45 degrees. You can make this look a little bit more of a rounded element that we have for most of our tile set so far. I'm going to go 3 wide here with the wooden planks, and then I'm just going to up it 1 each time until we get this nice little curve, very pixelated in terms of how you had to think about it. And at that point, we can just rotate it 15 degrees all the way up till it's flush and make it all sealed and nice looking. So this is kind of the first kind of angle here, and things are looking good. However, once you start copying this around, you'll notice that things are still not fully lined up correctly, and that's kind of the trouble I ended up running to later on. And then I decided that we needed to actually do 2 full slices, because apparently when I first made this structure, I didn't make it at a perfect kind of 30-degree correction here, and that caused the whole thing to be thrown off. So copying and paste, you know, trying to figure out what exactly and why this is being thrown off. You know, you can see 90-degree rotation looks fairly correct, so I figured that I just copied it wrong and wasn't lining up correctly. That looks right. You copy it 45 degrees again, and it's just not lining up. And this is one of those trial and error moments that, you know, you guys get to see that I'm not really that great of a builder when it comes to planning ahead. You know, I'm very reactionary, so, you know, I end up costing myself a lot of time in a lot of areas. And, you know, that's not really to say you guys shouldn't try this or try new things that you're not comfortable with, because you definitely should, because that's how you get better at building. But hopefully you can learn from my videos in a way that you can hopefully save yourself time in the long run, at least better than I do myself. And here you can see we copied the next corner over, and it's definitely a different shape, just slightly. It's about probably a 5-degree difference, and that adds up over time on the full 360. But here you can see it actually seals up nicely. We have the new tile set basically finished. Go in, clean it up a little bit, and just copy it all the way around. I really like this 2-tiered stylistic look on it. We'll add some new pillars just to make it look a little bit more grounded, and even flip these upside down so the base and tops look a little thicker than normal. And at that point, we can add the base to it. The base will just be a simple stone plaza. Originally, I wanted to do the angled walls there. Figured that really wasn't going to work. So if you copy the structure and just rotate it 45 degrees, you can fill in kind of the X shape on the sides, and we can use these concrete pillars to kind of fill in the angular dead space as best as possible. It will kind of require some stitching later on, but we kind of skip over that because I can only work on the structure for so long on camera before I run out of things to say. This is the other area, kind of right outside the wall. This is, it looks like some sort of storage, greenhouse, or farming area for some light food elements around the temple. And we are using the kind of cowboy-esque western canvas topper there to get a smooth curved surface to make these into half circles, and we'll just add some rope detail along to make it look a little bit more rigid and tied down. And these new rope elements are great for these because you can kind of quickly copy and paste it to really make it look very secured to the ground, and add some doors to them on the front side, and we'll fence in the farm area, a little garden area, I guess. It's not so much a farm. It's not even really an acre of land here. It's really small. If you think about it, it just might be the family garden. They probably, I would assume, ship in more food for the other students when they do get those. So, you know, this is definitely more, say, herbs or just family food supply here. But we're going to mix up some of the bushes and colors and shapes and sizes so that it at least looks somewhat varied. The flower bush here looks a little bit more like an herb bush, so that kind of medicinal herb would make sense for the air tribe. You know, they're very pacifistic. We got some trees on the corners just to help ground and frame a lot of these structures. At this point, we are going to move into a whole bunch of nature work, from laying down stones, shrubs, and bushes. And this stuff's just really important to help really detail out the area, because there's really just a whole bunch of open space at this point to fill in. This is kind of actually my least favorite part to do in Planet Coaster. Laying down rocks and pebbles, it really makes the build look finished. However, in my opinion, it's also the most boring section of building in general. I prefer working on more architectural things. I'm not much of a gardener, so it's just a little, I don't know, it's just a little too time consuming because it takes me a while to try and bring balance to it all. We have a whole bunch of rocks going in to kind of continue the motif behind this other small structure over here. We'll even bring in some rock foundation along one edge just to make that look a little bit more tied into the plaza itself. And, you know, you can throw greenery elements in between these rocks. It really helps pop them out a little bit. It also helps kind of ground them, make the whole area look overgrown and busy. You can see the edge of the path kind of just ends at the corner of the structure there, and then the rocks kind of take over. Terrain painting, you know, you want to balance the colors. You want some highlighted areas. You want the stonework showing through on more of the rough slopes of the cliff. And then you just pop in some greenery, kind of poking up through the rocks, and you can make the whole thing kind of pop out. That's just what I want to do here. I kind of really wish we had more yellow bushes or yellow trees. We have a few red variants. Just some more fall colors I think would be pretty nice to have as a color palette option, especially here at the gazebo area. In my reference pictures, there's a lot more red tree variants. There's a lot more yellows. It's probably a little bit more of a fall painting that I'm referencing, but you know, it's just one of those things I wish we had a little bit more variation of. I do like to keep the groupings of trees, I guess, sporadic and well spaced out so that, you know, we can mix in a whole bunch of different colors. But it's one of those things that it's a little bit unrealistic because trees kind of grow in clusters. If you ever drive down the highway and just look out into the forest, you can see very large clusters of pine trees mixed into, say, a whole bunch of oaks. You know, it's just over time, they take up more area than maybe I'm portraying here. And at this point, we're pretty much done with the speed build. So we'll take a look at it in real time. You guys can tell me what you think, and we can go from there. Alright, so here we are taking a look at the northern end of the Family Plaza. It is a pretty cool area, you know, with the water element here at the home of the Tenzin family. We have, you know, great view, open plaza that we're going to end up adding lights to eventually. That's something that's on my list still. There's still a set of details that I need to add between, like, stepping stones, lighting elements, you know, those stone kind of narrow lanterns that you see in Asia a lot. You got maybe even some more wooden lanterns, paper lantern kind of stuff that I want to add as well, just so we can have some lighting when it's nighttime. But I'm just liking how everything is turning out. I have the camera low right now, just so you can kind of see the tree line in the background, because I think that's one of the best ways to view this currently, as not all the trees are placed. And it's just all coming together, you know, the sound of the wind rustling through the trees. It's just very peaceful here in Air Temple Island, and I hope you guys are liking the overall look of everything. So as we move over here, you can see the low wall. Added that wood trim on it just to make it look a little bit more fancy than, say, the male dorm on the previous section. Here is a simple archway into the storage farming area out here. There's still plenty of brushwork that I need to get into and stonework, but, you know, the basics are there. It's kind of going to be a final pass detail here at the end of the episode. Here is the farm. Everything's planted and growing nicely. And even just looking back at the wall itself, just looks really good with the green kind of framing elements, the tall home sitting on that heavy white foundation, and then you have the temple over on the left side. You know, everything's just kind of framed to the left and the right. The center itself is relatively low. That's a pretty cool composition. We got some more rocks here just kind of creeping up. You want to do this in little patches of stuff. You don't want to overuse details. And then this is the large gazebo back here. Meditation area for Tenzin and his family. Really good overlook off in the distance there. Now, normally this should all be ocean out there, but, you know, due to the limitations on park size, that's not something we can do here in Planet Coaster itself. So let's just creep up and take a look at the overall feeling of it all. I think this build is one of my favorites to work on, but then again, we are really only working on 2 builds, so, you know, they're both really pretty cool. And as this thing winds down, we do want to move into something a little bit smaller for the next few series. But, you know, we still have a lot of work to do here, between placing all 10,000 or so trees to working on the road, the sculpting of the plateau itself, and just plenty of miscellaneous things to place around to really make this thing feel lived in. That's really probably my only complaint right now, is it looks a little too sterile. You know, there's not much livable stuff being shown, but hopefully that can change as we move forward. Over here, this is what we're going to be working on next time. We want to get all of this lower pathway done. It should be pretty clean and simple. It's just a thin layer of concrete that needs to be laid around there. I don't have to worry about the actual pathing in terms of game, because that path will never come into this area. This is a sole recreation. There's no rides. There's no reason for guests to come here at all. It just looks cool. We have a cool bridge to make, another cool bridge down there to make. We'll have a like a greeting house down here, and then a dock. And that will be it for the remaining structures. At that point, we will just be sculpting the mountain, which will take a little while. This is kind of what the mountain itself will end up looking like, kind of sharp, jagged areas coming down kind of vertically in a lot of spots. And as they overlap and intertwine, they create little valleys and interesting bits. This is kind of the hardest thing to do in Planet Coaster for me. I'm not great at terrain sculpting just yet, so, you know, hopefully this is just going to be a great learning experience. And that's another reason to do these large, complicated builds. You learn a lot between time management and how you go about making your tile sets to save time later on, because you're getting a little tired of that stuff, to just overall composition and layout, because when you copy something that is already really well made, you kind of learn from that. So I do suggest doing that if you're kind of starting out here and you don't quite know what to make. Anyways, that's it for this episode of Planet Coaster. Go ahead and hit that like button if you want to see more. Subscribe to my channel for more creative goodness such as this. We will be switching to a new computer, as I said, so there might be a little bit of a lull in episodes as I move everything over and get settled on that machine. And until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.